afternoon, and welcome to From Where We Are, stories of news and culture through the lens of USC and Southern California. I'm Ari Rose Marquez, coming to you live from Studio B in USC's Annenberg Media Center.
And I'm Daniela Lake. It's September 30th, 2024. Today is the last day before spooky season commences. On today's show,
Charli on Broadway, and it's not XCX.
Voices in your head? No, it's just International Podcast Day.
And there's only one bar in LA that's open till 4 a.m., but only for VIPs. All that and more from where we are.
But first, here are today's top headlines.
The Israeli Defense Forces begun a ground operation into southern Lebanon. Today, Israel killed a Hamas commander, along with his wife and son. Evacuations began from parts of Beirut, Lebanon, as multiple strikes reportedly hit the area hours later.
The death toll from Hurricane Helene is confirmed to have reached at least 132 as of today, with the most casualties and damage concentrated in North Carolina. Hurricane Helene hit the American Southeast Thursday night. The storm caused damage in Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina, and Tennessee.
The line fire in San Bernardino County flared up again this weekend. Almost a month after the fire started on September 5th, new evacuations were ordered in the community of Seven Oaks. The fire stretches across over 40,000 acres, according to CAL FIRE, and as of today, the fire is 80% contained.
A federal judge sentenced Jamie Tran to 35 years in prison for shootings of two Jewish men in West LA last year. Tran pleaded guilty to 2 counts of hate crimes with intent to kill and 2 counts related to use of a firearm.
Governor Newsom signed a law this morning banning legacy and donor admissions at private universities. USC is among the schools affected by the new law, acknowledging that over 14% of admitted students in its 2028 class hold legacy status.
TikTok's most followed dancer, Charli D'Amelio, is set to debut on Broadway next month in & Juliet. Will the social media star live up to the hype? Scott Hills has the story.
That's the sound of a future Broadway star, by way of social media. It's Charli D'Amelio. She has over 155 million followers on TikTok, but the 20-year-old social media star is now making the jump to Broadway. D'Amelio initially went viral in early 2019 for her dance videos. Now, she'll be part of the ensemble in the professional musical & Juliet. She will be featured in the dance-heavy role of Charmaine this fall. The TikToker doesn't just perform for the cell phone camera, she also has more than a decade of experience as a competitive dancer and made an effort in 2022 to segue into a music career. D'Amelio went on to win season 31 of Dancing with the Stars. She also starred in a reality show called The D'Amelio Show with her family. It was canceled in 2023 after 3 seasons. We wanted to hear what people are thinking about a social media star entering the competitive world of Broadway and landing a role that many professional dancers would kill for. Junior Gabby Garcia doesn't mind.
I definitely think of her more as like a TikTok dancer, but I have seen she does like professional work, so I definitely like acknowledge that part. Even though she's like popular for like TikTok and does TikTok dances, I'm sure she's also like a good dancer other than that.
But the idea of influencers landing coveted Broadway roles doesn't sit well with sophomore Isabel Castillo.
Northwest, she just came in and swooped in, took that role.
She's referring to the daughter of Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, who was cast as young Simba in The Lion King.
Other parents and mothers were waiting for the audition and they were the final role. And a lot of the cast members that were in Broadway were really upset with the performance and the quality of the musical of The Lion King.
We also spoke with Erica Driscoll, a professional dancer who has performed with multiple ballet companies across the country.
To have somebody who just gets a role on Broadway because of their fame or because of their number of followers or their attention on social media, I think is unfortunate for a lot of dancers who are attending auditions on the daily.
Regardless of where the public stands on D'Amelio's new gig, she is slated to make her big Broadway debut at the end of October. Her fans and influencer peers will be watching eagerly to see if her transition from the small screen to the big stage lives up to the hype. For Annenberg Media, I'm Scott Hills.
You can now drink until 4 a.m. at the Intuit Dome Stadium, but only for a certain clientele. Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill allowing VIPs to imbibe till the wee hours, and some folks aren't too thrilled. Ian Maley has the story.
Governor Gavin Newsom recently signed a bill into law to allow drinking in California until 4 a.m. However, there is a catch. The law is only for the new VIP section at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California. This privilege to drink till 4 a.m. comes at a hefty price, around $10,000. The purchase of alcohol is banned from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. everywhere else in the state. Another thing that is raising questions is that one of the bill's sponsors is Murphy's Bowl, a company owned by Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, and the Intuit Dome itself. USC student Jack Abrams shared his thoughts on why this law could be looked at as biased and in favor for just the rich.
And I'm not 21, obviously, so I don't really have any stake in this personally, but I think it just seems a little bit unethical.
A group of graduate students at the USC Village Bar, Rock and Riley, shared their thoughts on the California Senate passing the law. Charli, a graduate student in Marshall, echoes Abrams on how the law is unfair.
Well, I don't like the California Senate, and they make bad laws, so it goes intact with that. I think that if they make a law that's only for the Intuit Dome, that's not fair. I think that we should be able to drink till 4 a.m. There's actually no reason why it should only be there.
Steve, one of the people in the group we interviewed, on the other hand, thinks it will benefit the state for the upcoming 2028 Olympics.
I think that's interesting just because LA is a global city, especially with the Olympics coming, and compared to the European Games, I think it would be a really big opportunity, I guess, for the city of LA in terms of a tax and jobs perspective.
Is this the last call for the last call problem? For Annenberg Media, this is Ian Maley.
It's International Podcast Day. With the exponential growth of podcasts over the last decade, we're taking today to celebrate the platform and the impact it's had worldwide. Liam Irvin has the story.
For those who celebrate, today, September 30th, marks International Podcast Day. Around the world, people commemorate the power of the audio platforms and its communities. For those who aren't familiar, you might want to give it a listen. We asked a few students for Rex. Here's a few from USC Legal Studies sophomore Jordan Clark.
My favorite podcast is either Anything Goes by Emma Chamberlain or Emergency Intercom.
And when does he listen?
Car rides, studying, and if you're on an airplane.
Health and Human Sciences sophomore Brooklyn Davis names this one favorite.
I like Bobby. She interviews rappers and stuff. She's pretty funny.
A Pew Research Center report said that more than 500 million people listened to podcasts last year. That's an almost 8% increase from the year before. But what makes a successful podcast? Jordan Clark lists some ingredients beyond just entertaining hosts.
A lot of good podcasts that I like to listen to, they not only have good hosts, but they have ways of tying it to the viewer where it's a universal experience. It's not tailored from one audience to another or, specifically giving an experience that only certain people have. It's for everyone.
Although listening to broadcast radio is declining, podcast listening continues to grow and find new audiences. Podcasts might just be the future of audio listening. From Annenberg Radio News, I'm Liam Irvin.
Annenberg Radio publicist Lauren Miller spoke to Justin Lee about the new Career Center podcast in the works. Lee is the project manager of the podcast and spoke to us about the importance and impact of the podcast.
So the podcast we're doing for the Career Center, it's very simple. Our mission is to help students find a job that they like and they won't grow to hate. And that's our missions, and we're planning launch in the near future. So somewhere in November is the time frame that we're currently looking at. The podcast will include 3 different type of episode. It will help you figure out the industry that you're involved in, do a little like guest interview, guided questions, talking with either the career coach or some of the professors here to hear about their experience navigating their career.
How did the Career Center podcast come about? I'm really curious to hear more about that.
So it started in March. I was taking this class from Marshall. It's called BU 8252, Planning and for Your Future Career in Business. And my professor was teaching about this concept of hypothesis for your life. So it's a 3-step process: hypothesis development, collecting data, and then test it. And it's just a wonderful concept for me to think about. And now it's become my living philosophy.
What do you like about podcasting specifically? Like, how does it stand out from other mediums?
What is very special about podcasts is that this little intimate connection of the audience. Like you're literally in their ears, right? Like you be accompanying them as they go for their daily jogger, or they're just on a car driving, or just anything, right? So that little interaction with the audience is very impactful.
What are some of your favorite podcasts that you listen to?
Oh, great. I'm a big podcast listener. As you might tell, 3 podcasts I really like. First is Dan Martell's podcast. He's a Canadian entrepreneur, and he built it over $100 million business. And his podcast is all about helping people to get out their thinking moves and then go out and start taking actions, right? So that's one of my favorite podcasts. It's actually where I draw a lot of inspiration from. The second podcast I really like to listen to is Apple News Today. It's actually how I start every single morning, just that little 12 minutes podcast, keep me updated about what's going on in the world. And the last podcast that I listen to is On Purpose with Jay Shetty. I couldn't tell you why I really like that podcast. It's very calming.
That was Justin Lee from the USC Career Center. Head to the Career Center's Instagram to find more information and take the survey linked in their bio.
And that's all we have time for on today's From Where We Are. Gabby Medina executive produced and directed today's show. Amy Lopez and Anthony Klingerman produced the show. We had help from Antonia Brooks, Natalia Fierro Gomez, Gianmarco Velasquez, Nick Corral, and Tare Ebamami.
Our board operator is Anthony Klingerman. Our live stream manager is Connor Wyckoff. And Derek Renfro composed our theme music.
Catch us live on YouTube at Annenberg Radio News Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Subscribe to From Where We Are wherever you're listening right now. Finally, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Annenberg Radio. I'm Daniela Lake.
And I'm Ari Rose Marquez. From all of us at Annenberg Radio, wherever you are, we hope you'll join us again for From Where We Are.
So, Ari, I'm wondering, would you go and see Charli D'Amelio on Broadway?
I would, but maybe only if she's doing the Renegade, like on stage. I'd support that.